Hi, this is Aaron Etheridge, President of Console Classics. This is a brief overview of Anguna for the Game Boy Advance. Anguna is a remarkable homebrew title that was put together by a single programmer, an artist, and several other supporting individuals. The game will invariably remind players of The Legend of Zelda, Illusion of Gaia, or any number of other adventure games. It is the classic combination of find the items and defeat the bad guys. The opening story is both simple and humorous and throws you right into the game. The plot is no more or less complicated than defeat the evil henchman in order to make your way to the supreme evil and put it to eternal rest. In order to do that, you're going to have to increase your power and abilities. The game is loaded with items that allow you to do just that. They are scattered throughout 4 different dungeons and the entire overland map. Anguna is a game that certainly encourages the player to explore the world as much as possible. The number of hidden items and secret passages is very high considering the length of the overall game. Fortunately, the game includes an auto map feature that tracks where you've been as you explore. Sometimes finding a secret room is as simple as exploring an entire dungeon and realizing that there's one room missing from the auto map. There's also an overland auto map, so that getting completely lost is very close to impossible. The only confusing thing about the map system is that on the overland map, the square the player is currently in is darker than the others rather than lighter. Another interesting feature of the interface is the enemy list. Whenever you defeat a monster, the information regarding that monster is automatically added to your list. This information includes the creature's name, hit points, attack damage, and strategic notes. In classic Zelda-esque fashion, enemies respawn after you leave an area and return, with the exception of bosses and mini-bosses. There are several other items that can be dashed apart with sword blow, like jars or bushes that may contain useful items. There are 3 categories of items: consumables, secondary items, and permanent items. The consumables consist of food that increase your health, gold that can be used to buy things in several shops throughout the land. Players can also find extra arrows and dynamite. The secondary items include the bow, which allows you to shoot arrows, the lantern, which allows you to see in the dark, life potions, which restore your health, winged boots that allow you to fly over holes or water, a damage ring, which greatly increases your damage when in use. Finally, dynamite must be purchased before it can be found and used, just like bombs in The Legend of Zelda. The permanent items are increases in max health, attack, and damage. There are also 3 kinds of keys in Anguna, and you will be able to find or purchase more than you need to complete the game. Keeping extra keys on you is always a good idea. The enemies you'll encounter range from humble slimes that meander toward you, hoping to hurt you merely by slamming into you, to arrow-shooting hobgoblins with giant shields. The mini-bosses that you defeat in one area will, in most cases, become common enemies later in the game. The bosses themselves are challenging and unique. The AI scripting in the game was very well done, as was enemy placement. Most areas can be easily traversed. However, certain dungeon areas are more challenging due to the multiple enemy types in a certain location. The result is a good balance between ease of play and gaming challenge. The final dungeon layout is more simple, but the enemies you face are more challenging. In fact, you will face a number of powerful and familiar enemies before facing off with the Great Dragon. The dragon fight itself is challenging and enjoyable, bringing the game to a very satisfactory end. Simply looking at Anguna as a Game Boy Advance game, it is well put together, well balanced, and very enjoyable. The graphics are beautiful and set the mood for each scene. Even the soundtrack and sound effects are well done. The game's greatest weakness is that there simply isn't enough of it. However, when one considers the very limited number of hands that went into its creation, that can hardly come as a surprise. The 4 or 5 hours of gameplay that it offers are truly remarkable. Had the game had a slightly deeper storyline and been longer, it could have easily made the transition from homebrew to retail release. If you've never played Anguna, I highly recommend that you give it a try. It is really amazing to see what a small group of determined people can do. Fortunately, you can take a look right here at Console Classics. I, for one, hope that you do.